Introduction. Good day, General Chief of the South African National Defence Force, General Rozani Mapwanya. I am pleased to address you. My name is Sylvester Volane Madala Mangolele. My titles are embedded in law. I am a male South African citizen equally entitled to the rights, privileges, and benefits of citizenship, and equally subject to the duties and responsibilities of citizenship. The Republic of South Africa is one sovereign democratic state founded on the values of human dignity, the achievement of equality and the advancement of human rights and freedoms, non-racialism and non-sexism, supremacy of the Constitution and the rule of law, universal adult suffrage, and a national common voters' roll, regular elections, and a multi-party system of democratic government to ensure accountability, responsiveness, and openness. Any person entrusted with constitutional duties to interpret this matter must promote the values that underlie an open democratic society based on human dignity, equality, and freedom. Must consider international law and may consider foreign law, and promote the spirit, purport, and objects of the Bill of Rights. You are humbly and dutifully requested to prefer interpretations that fall within constitutional bounds over those that do not. If a provision is reasonably capable of two interpretations, Section 39(2) of the Constitution requires the adoption of the interpretation that better promotes the spirit, purport, and the objects of the Bill of Rights. The language used in this broadcast must be interpreted as far as possible and without undue strain, so as to favor compliance with the Constitution in order to afford Sylvester Volane Madala Mangolele the fullest possible protection of his constitutional guarantees. The aim of this presentation is reinstitution of the fundamental human rights of Sylvester Volane Madala Mangolele. To serve and defend the country and its people in accordance with the Constitution means the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa of 1996, in which we, the people of South Africa, recognizes the injustices of our past, honor those who suffered for injustice and freedom in our land, respect those who have worked to build and develop our country, believe that South Africa belongs to all who live in it, and united in our diversity. We therefore, through our freely elected representative, adopt this Constitution as the supreme law of the Republic, so as to heal the divisions of the past and establish a society based on democratic values, social justice, and fundamental human rights. Lay a foundation for a democratic and open society in which government is based on the will of the people and every citizen is equally protected by the law. Improve the quality of life of all citizens and free the potential of each person, and build a united and democratic South Africa able to take its rightful place as a sovereign state in the family of nations. May God protect our people. Nkosi sikelela iAfrika. Morena boloka setjhaba sa heso. God seën South Africa. God bless South Africa. Modimo futsutseza Africa. O se katekisa Afrika. to serve and defend the country and its people in accordance with the law. The Defense Act of number 42 of 2002 provides for the defense of the Republic and for matters connected therewith. Any reference to this act to an obligation to render service in the Defense Force includes an obligation to undergo training, or a rank includes the equivalent of such a rank in any service. The Minister and any organ of state defined in Section 239 of the Constitution, as well as all members of the Defense Force and any auxiliary service and employees, must, in exercising any power or performing any duty in terms of this Act, have regard of the following principles. The formulation and execution of defense policy is subject to the authority of Parliament and the National Executive. The primary object of the Defense Force is to defend and protect the Republic, its people, and its territorial integrity. The Defense Force must perform its functions in accordance with the Constitution and the law regulating the use of force. The Defense Force must have a primarily defensive orientation and posture. No member of the South African Defense Force may obey a manifestly illegal order. It is illegal to obey an order to live under these conditions. Neither the Defense Force nor its members may, in the performance of their functions, prejudice any political party interest that is legitimate in terms of the Constitution, or in a partisan fashion, further any interest or political party. In simple terms in that regard, one cannot toy. One cannot campaign for any elections as a member of the South African National Defence Force. The Defence Force must respect the fundamental rights and dignity of its members and of all persons. There is no right in the Bill of Rights that can be respected, protected, promoted, and fulfilled in this particular environment. Words have meaning. Honor. When one goes to Microsoft Word and right-click on the word and then follow the link of synonyms, the interpretation of such a word or synonyms of that word is given, in which honor means integrity, decency, righteousness, principles, uprightness. Dignity in synonyms is self-respect, self-esteem, poise, pride, self-possession. Courage. Bravery, nerve, pluck, valor, or daring. Integrity means honesty, truth, truthfulness, honor, veracity. Loyalty has synonyms of faithfulness, devotion, allegiance, trustworthy, constancy. Pride has synonyms of arrogance, conceit, smugness, self-importance, egotism. Obligations has synonyms of duty, responsibility, requirement, compulsion, and commitment. And duty means responsibility, obligations, honors, burden, calling. Country in synonym is republic, nation, state, realm, or nation state. People are in synonym to persons, individuals, public, publics, or society. Duty bound by the Code of Conduct for uniformed members of the South African National Defence Force, General Mapwanya, you are to respect, support, and treat Sylvester Volane Madala fairly. Following a spoliation and a decline in critical capabilities in which people took the law into their own hands and resort to self-help instead of using due legal procedure, General Mapwanya, you must uphold, respect, and defend the Constitution as the supreme law of the Republic by providing Sylvester Madala Mangolele and his children Nyiko Mangolele and Aluta Songelwa with a suitable place to live effective immediately. Reinstituting immediately payment of Sylvester Volane Mangolele salary including all benefits. Respecting, protecting, promoting and fulfilling Sylvester Volane Madala Mangolele's Nyiko Mangolele and Aluta Songelwa's rights enshrined in the Bill of Rights. The South African National Defence Force must arrest the decline in critical capabilities through immediate directed interventions. General Mapwanya, we are all mandated to do so by an Act of Parliament in terms of the South African Defence Review 2014. The Republic of South Africa and its people must be served and defended in accordance with the Constitution and the law. We must rebalance and reorganize the Defence Force as a foundation for future growth. We must create a sustainable defence force that can meet current ordered defence commitments. A defence capability to respond to embryonic challenges in the strategic environment. Section 104 of the Defence Act imposes of penalties and offences. Any member or employee of the department who in a willful or negligent manner contravenes or fails to comply with any regulation made under this Act is guilty of an offence and liable on conviction to a fine or imprisonment for a period not exceeding 1 year as obligated in terms of Section 104(15) of the Defence Act. The Minister of Defence and Military Veterans has under Section 62L of the Defence Act 2002-42 of 2002 made regulations in a schedule, whereas the Defence Force is a national asset which is mandated under the Constitution to be structured and managed as a disciplined military force, and in accordance with the principles of international law governing the use of force. And whereas the Defence Force is essential in the defense of the Constitution, the territorial integrity and national sovereignty of the Republic and our democracy, and whereas the Defence Force provides a soldiering career wherein members entrust their inalienable right to life, which is guaranteed in the Bill of Rights of the Constitution to the nation and the state. And whereas it is an unavoidable reality that when a soldier is recruited, he and his family becomes a part of a larger Defence Force family as an institution to share in the joys, anxieties, and the sometimes unfortunate outcomes of service, including maiming and death. And whereas it is essential for an effective mechanism to be created to provide for the necessary duty of care to the soldier and his or her family, and whereas it is therefore necessary to create a working environment for the soldiering professions that is positively conducive to discipline. And whereas these factors define the uniqueness of the soldiering profession as included in this particular government gazette. The reality of this matter is an unlawful and intentional engagement of senior government officials owing allegiance to the Republic of South Africa, defeating or obstructing the administration of justice with the intention of unlawfully impairing, violating, threatening, or endangering Sylvester Volane Madala Mangolele's existence and independence and security of the Republic. Unlawfully changing the constitutional structure of the Republic, unlawfully overthrowing the government of the Republic, or unlawfully coercing by violence the government of the Republic into any action or into refraining from any action. The above treason is perpetually sustained by the unlawful and intentional making of a misrepresentation that causes actual or potential prejudice to Sylvester Volane Madala Mangolele, his family, his children, country, and its people. It is fraud that has sustained these aggravating circumstances, wherein gross violation of the Constitution in which the state or any person in respect of any unlawful act against Sylvester Volane Madala Mangolele is indemnified. A derogation from entirely protecting the right to dignity and the right to life of Sylvester Volane Madala Mangolele is unlawfully and intentionally sustained, antithetical to the imposed obligations in the table of non-derogable rights enshrined in the Bill of Rights of our Constitution, as a result of entirely protecting the human dignity and life of Sylvester Volane Madala Mangolele. This is as a result of a serious violation of the Constitution or the law, serious misconduct, or serious inability to perform the functions of office. This is the problem to be solved. It is the problem to be solved, fundamentally so. It is what raises any argument following its existence. I have written a letter to your office as the Chief of the South African National Defence Force, a submission to return to unit and reinstitution, in which, amongst many other things, one has fundamentally requested to be provided with a suitable place to live, effective immediately. Reinstituting immediately payment of my salary, including all benefits. Respecting, protecting, promoting, and fulfilling my rights enshrined in the Bill of Rights. I have acted in accordance with the Constitution and the law. On 27 June 2018, following the previous incident on 20 June 2018, I have received a letter from Commander Mshengu, which I have acknowledged at 21:30 in the evening. The letter was from the Chief of the South African Navy, Vice Admiral M.S. Hlongwane, dated 26 June 2018, addressed to myself with the intention to recommend administrative discharge. This is in light of your recent behavior. An administrative recommendation will be sent. A recommendation will be sent to the Chief of the South African National Defence Force for your administrative discharge on the grounds of grave breach of military discipline by threatening and intimidating top officials of the South African National Defence Force. You are hereby granted an opportunity to furnish the representation as to why the administrative discharge should not be recommended. You have till Friday 29 June 2018 at 1000 Bravo to submit your representations to this HQ, or 24 hours after receipt of this correspondence, whichever date is the earliest. And when one looks at the reality of the 27th of June 2018 at 9:30 in the evening, that meant that by 9:30 of the following day in the evening, one needed to submit the representations. But one needed to ask, in light of the inscribed terms, in light of your above recent, in light of your recent behavior, which recent behavior are you referring to? When you talk of threats, which threat are you referring to? When you talk of intimidation, which intimidation are you referring to? When one talks of top officials in the SANDF, which top officials are you referring to? Those are the fundamental questions that any other person would ask themselves in receipt of this particular letter. It was further exacerbated on the 22nd of August 2018 when one received a letter from the Chief of the South African Defence South African Navy, Vice Admiral Samuel Hlongwane, stating that my address is number 4 Cable Hill Road, Simonstown 7975. And my rank is Lieutenant Commander. It elaborates, it has a heading of administrative discharge. The term administrative discharge is unknown to me and have in every effort made possible to be explained but could not be explained. These are the problems that must be solved, Chief of the South African National Defence Force. I was instructed that I am notified that approval has been granted for your administrative discharge. You are requested to hand back all personal loan items as reflected on enclosed distribution account report except for the jacket cold weather. These items must be returned to Naval Base Simonstown Logistic Department within 5 working days of receipt of this letter. Failure to comply with this instruction will result in a deduction from your final payment. You are further informed that the outstanding debt for studies at state expense of 2014 will be deducted from your final payment. You are required to confirm receipt of this correspondence in writing within 5 working days of receipt of this letter. The letter was signed on the 17th of August 2018 by Vice Admiral Samuel Hlongwane as the Chief of the South African Navy, who left me with a cold weather jacket to remain warm in the streets, as it is written in the letter forwarded to myself. After being in court, I was found guilty for following the terms in the letter, number 4 Cable Hill Road, Simonstown, which proves one thing: the letter is unlawful. The address, number 4 Cable Hill Road, Simonstown 7975, only invites imprisonment. It is when this problem solved that then the Constitution as the supreme law of the Republic shall be upheld, respected, and defended. And the unity of the nation shall be promoted, and this will advance the Republic. It is indeed correct that only the President can cancel my permanent commission in terms of Section 54(3)(a) of the Defense Act 42 of 2002. It is indeed correct that all security services must act and must teach and must require their members to act in accordance with the Constitution and the law, including customary international law and international agreements binding on the Republic. No member of any security service may obey a manifestly illegal order. We cannot accept criminal activity, apartheid, corruption, and misconduct as a norm and standard in the South African National Defence Force. I employ this video as the only means available to me as persons or syndicates in critical capabilities obstructs or interferes with the Defence Force in the execution of its duties in terms of the Defence Act or the Constitution. The lawful remedy of obstructing or interfering with the Defence Force in the execution of its duties is in terms of the Defence Act or the Constitution is a fine or imprisonment for a period not exceeding 25 years, as provided for by the obligations imposed in terms of Section 104(10) of the Defence Act. General Mapwanya, the problem is betrayal of the supreme law. Members of the South African National Defence Force expect me to sign for my pension on the streets or outside my unit, Naval Base Simonstown. This is unlawful, and I do not obey an obviously illegal order. I am expected to believe an unlawful and intentional misrepresentation that causes actual or potential prejudice to myself, children, family, country, and its people. Fraud is a crime. I cannot obey fraud. The South African National Defence Force does not do fraud. General Mapwanya, you are responsible for the direct management and administration of the Defence Force in an efficient way, including the effective utilization and the education, training, and development of all members of the Defence Force and employees of the department were so required by the Secretary for Defence. You are also responsible for the training of members of the Defence Force to act in accordance with the Constitution and the law, including customary international law and international agreements binding on the Republic. These are the functions imposed on the Chief of the South African National Defence Force in terms of Section 14 of the Defence Act. I advance these averments to educate the people. These people are the people of Sylvester Volane Madala Mangolele, and he is their people in service and defense of the Republic of South Africa in accordance with the Constitution and the law. The pride of the nation. As the Chief of the South African National Defence Force, General Mapwanya, you must manage the Defence Force as a disciplined military force and are responsible for the development of a non-racial, non-sexist, and non-discriminatory institutional culture within the Defence Force in accordance with the Constitution and departmental policy on equal opportunity and affirmative actions. As I am subordinate in rank to you, sir, I am senior to all my juniors whom I respect and support and treat them fairly as my subordinates. You respect me, you respect my subordinates. I have written to your office and have called almost every day for constitutional obligations to be performed diligently and without delay, yet no action is taken. Action not taken implies no service. Yet the Defence Force is employed to serve all. General Mapwanya, I ask you not to play with me. I ask you to respect my fundamental human rights. I ask you to respect my independence and existence as security of the Republic. I am not crazy to let my children, family, country and its people suffer as a result of criminal activity, corruption, apartheid or misconduct. To avoid me is to avoid the reality of the country and people you serve and defend, and to promote crimes against the state and the administration of justice. On Thursday, 4 February 2016, I was tasked to conduct an internal investigation by Rear Admiral Mkhonto. In a memorandum dated 4 February 2016, file reference 4/R/404/5, as can be seen on your screen. To conduct an internal investigation into the possible recapacitation of the repairable workshops at Naval Stores Depot Wingfield. My investigation should look at, but not limited to, the following: previous and approved structures, reason for discontinued structures, requirements to institute such a structure, feasibility of instituting such a structure. And I was to report bi-monthly on this investigation directly to the Director Fleet Logistics, Rear Admiral Mkhonto. I concluded my investigation on 12 August 2016 with a feasibility study on general naval workshops as a technical support and services manager, with the intention to have all vessels at sea employed and fulfilling their respective mandates. On Thursday, 9 February 2017, I was assaulted with a knobkerrie by Rear Admiral Mkhonto, in which a situation leading to be viewed by the public eye as in the Navy, the knobkerrie does the talking. Where military police were investigating Navy knobkerrie attack, but to this day have not prosecuted such a reality. On Monday, 13 February 2017, I was maliciously prosecuted by Rear Admiral Fore, then Captain Fore. As can be seen on an account of an offense dated 13 February 2017, this is the reality in which one has been induced to. A certificate of promulgation was promulgated on 19 February 2019 by a senior military judge, Combrink, who on 5 accounts found me not guilty and acquitted me of all charges brought against me in the only military court that I have ever attended in defense and protection of my fundamental human rights. I was found not guilty on all accounts, and such was promulgated with a signal reference EXE2 869, 28 July 2020, released by Naval Base Simonstown to the Chief of the South African Navy, informing him that I have been not found guilty on all charges leveled against me. I was to be promoted to higher rank on 1 April 2017, and that did not happen as a result of the malicious prosecution. On 17 November 2017, the state closed its case, and I had to wait for the senior military judge to call my witnesses, Rear Admiral Mkhonto, Captain Fore, and Captain Mwito. Instead of having my witnesses called and the law upheld, I was unlawfully suspended on Friday, 6 April 2018 by General Soli Shoke. On Monday, 9 April 2018, the court of a senior military judge did not preside as scheduled, and I was ordered to return to unit. On Thursday, 12 April 2018, the military police were called to escort me out of the naval dockyard, and they could not, as I have broken no law or charged of any crime. On Friday, 13 April 2018, I was arbitrarily or without just cause escorted out of the naval dockyard in Simonstown, and a picture of me displayed in the entrance of Coal Point to inform all people entering and leaving the Coal Point gate that Lieutenant Commander Sylvester Volane Mangolele is not allowed entry to the yard. This was depicted in front of the principals of Batupele for all to see. I then reported for duty only to return at the gate. As one can be seen that one has reported for duty, and then the security at the gate had signed to confirm that one has reported for such duty on the date displayed in your screens respectively. On 20 June 2018, my personal belongings were arbitrarily or without just cause placed on the streets, as can be seen in this aggravating reality. That must be solved. There is no right in the Bill of Rights that can be fulfilled, promoted, protected, and respected in this achievement. Action of this nature does not carry the force of law, an unlawful order that I do not obey. What is sustained to this day is this constitutional address. I did not take an action to put my property on the street. There is nowhere in the law where it is written that any person in a democratic republic of South Africa must live on the streets. All other issues shall be presented to the Compensation Board in terms of Section 57 of the Defence Act. It is indeed true that Sylvester Volane Madala Mangolele suffered damage or loss as a result of an act or omission from any training or service under the Defence Act. I must appreciate the record of the first court from Cape to Cairo of the African continent, in which Judge Jacobs, as a magistrate, presided on this particular matter between the state and Sylvester Mangolele, and introduced his judgment to state that the accused is charged with 3 counts of contravening the provisions of Section 1(1) of the Trespass Act. He is facing 2 further charges of contravening the provisions of Section 67A of the Criminal Procedure Act, in that he is alleged to have failed to comply with a condition of bail not to enter the Simonstown jurisdiction area. The accused was informed of his rights to legal representation but elected to conduct his own defense. He further informed the court that he elects to conduct the proceedings in English and does not require the services of an interpreter. Mr. Mangolele pleaded not guilty to all the charges and elected to disclose the basis for the defense in terms of Section 115 of Act 51, 1977. In respect of the trespass charges, He submits that he had lawful reason to be on the premises, and so forth. The judgment continues with its 16 pages. Commissioned officers in the Defence Force are regulated in terms of Section 54 of the Defence Act. And Section 54.3a provides that only the President may cancel a permanent commission, but such a commission may not be cancelled without the holder therefore being notified in writing of any complaint or charge made against him or her, and of any action proposed to be taken in respect thereof, nor without him or her being called upon to show cause in relation thereto. It is therein recorded that Sylvester Volane Madala was arbitrarily or without just cause deprived of freedom and security of the person, detained without trial, exposed to all forms of violence from either public or private sources, tortured in any way, treated or punished in a cruel, inhumane, or degrading way. While the Constitution upholds that everyone has inherent dignity and the right to have their dignity respected and protected, and that everyone has the right to life, and that everyone has the right to freedom and security of the person, which includes the right not to be deprived of freedom arbitrarily or without just cause, not to be detained without trial, to be free from all forms of violence from either public or private sources, not to be tortured in any way, and not to be treated or punished in a cruel, inhumane, or degrading way. The challenges that Sylvester Volane Madala faces that he's denied his constitutional guarantees. People disregard the obligations imposed by the Constitution. We are confronted by poverty, criminal activity, corruption, apartheid, and misconduct. Abuse of power delays our democracy. Gross violation of the Constitution or the law by those employed to uphold, respect, and defend the Constitution as the supreme law is another challenge we fear. Fear is a challenge. Favor is also a challenge we face. Prejudice is a challenge. Public office operated personally instead of professionally is also a challenge that we face. It is obligated for all to respect that any member or former member of the Defence Force who suffered any damage or loss as a result of an act or omission arising from any training or service under the Defence Act may in writing apply to the Compensation Board established by subsection 3 of the for compensation, setting out fully the grounds on which the application is based, the extent and nature of the damage or loss, and the compensation desired. I have duly informed you of this provision on the letter dated 1 July 2021, General Mapwanya. I need a suitable place to live and continue to serve and defend my country and its people in accordance with the Constitution and the law, and with honor, dignity, courage, and integrity. To accommodate any senior military officer simply takes a phone call followed by a signal. It is true that people lied about Sylvester Volane Madala Mangolele. It is true that Sylvester Volane Madala Mangolele suffers irreparable harm. In your findings, you shall find that Sylvester Volane Madala Mangolele acted in service and defense of the Republic of South Africa and its people in accordance with the Constitution and the law. To serve and defend the country and its people in accordance with the Constitution and the law is the first obligation imposed upon any member of the South African National Defence Force in any event. It is Sylvester Volane Madala Mangolele's pledge to the country and its people. It took discipline to produce this brief. Against all odds, it is before you. Nyiko Mangolele and Aluta Songelwa need me as a father. They are my children. Sylvester Volane Madala Mangolele is the South Africa on his shoulders. He is one, as all of you are one. None of the rights of Sylvester Volane Madala Mangolele enshrined in the Bill of Rights has been respected, protected, promoted, and fulfilled by the state. What is kept constant is that I am abstracted from all my duties, including my parental duties to my children. It is written in law that a child's best interests are of paramount importance in every matter concerning the child, and that all organs of state in any sphere of government and all officials, employees, and representatives of an organ of state must respect, protect, and promote the rights of children contained in the Children's Act. The record of the first court from Cape to Cairo of the African continent will tell you that members of the Defence Force have no respect for the rights of Nyiko Mangolele and Aluta Songelwa. Everything that was done on the name of Sylvester Volane Madala Mangolele on the DOD PESEL system is unlawful. And each time Sylvester Volane Madala Mangolele wants to resolve this matter by the application of law, he is obstructed to do so. People want Sylvester Volane Madala Mangolele to accept that corruption is the way of life for our democratic republic and that South African National Defence Force supports corruption. People want Sylvester Volane Madala Mangolele to believe that the law does not apply to him. Only the will of a master to a slave applies. General Mapuanya, you must believe it to be true that if any person does not act lawfully, such a person must be prosecuted in accordance with the Constitution and the law. It is the honest truth that we are all equal before the law, and the South African National Defence Force is the last line of defence when all organs of state fail as they have. On 18 June 2018, the Chief of the South African Navy, Vice Admiral Samuel Hlongwane, arbitrarily or without just cause, recommended to Chief Human Resource that Lieutenant Commander Sylvester Volane Mangolele's service be terminated for a breach of military discipline and for using threatening and intimidating language towards Chief of the South African National Defence Force. This is the letter that was written for inquiries Rear Admiral Machimane on 18 June 2018, which is a request for administrative discharge from the South African National Defence Force of 99004046 MC, Lieutenant Commander Sylvester Mangolele. The details of this letter are available to you when you pause this particular video and then see this particular letter. The aim of it was the submission to obtain approval for the administrative discharge of Lieutenant Commander Sylvester Volane Mangolele from the SANDF as a result of conduct which constitutes a grave breach of military discipline. It was explained that Lieutenant Commander Mangolele is currently on suspension in terms of Section 42(1) of the Military Discipline Measures Act. And around 14th or 15th June 18, Lieutenant Commander Mangolele was noted on Facebook video clipping appearing to be addressing Chief SANDF in person and other senior officers in the South African National Defence Force. The manner in which Lieutenant Commander Mangolele addressed the Chief of the South African National Defence Force leaves much to be desired and constitute a grave breach of military discipline. In addition, his tone and aggressive posture may be construed to be threatening and intimidating Chief SANDF. This type of behavior from serving senior officers cannot be tolerated in a military organization like the South African National Defence Force. It was so recommended, as I have already discussed, and as can be seen in this particular regard. This particular letter does not involve any action from Lieutenant Commander Sylvester Volane Mangolele. It only takes the action of Chief Human Resource and only informs Chief of the South African National Defence Force and Flag Officer Fleet. On 20 June 2018, Chief of the South African National Defence Force General Solishoke, Chief of the Navy, Senior Staff Officer Legal of the Chief SANDF's Office, and Captain Pieterse as a Senior Staff Legal Officer in the Navy HQ, arbitrarily or without just cause, had a discussion regarding the course of action to be followed after following a video clip that was posted on social media by Lieutenant Commander Sylvester Volane Mangolele. On 21 June 2018, for inquiries, it was written Captain Pieterse with a heading of administrative discharge of Lieutenant Commander Mangolele, where the introduction introduces the situation as I've already placed it before you. With the background that Lieutenant Commander Mangolele is working at Fleet Command HQ as an Assistant Manager, Technical Support Services. His contract expires on 21 May 2023. On 13 November 2017, he appeared in brief in front of a court of a senior military judge on 4 charges of contravention of Section 14B of MDC and 1 charge of contravention of Section 30D MDC. Prior to his trial, he wrote a letter to the Minister of Defense tasking different senior officers, communications, head of communications, etc., including Chief of the South African National Defence Force, Chief of the Navy, Director, Defence Corporate Communications, and Head of Communications, as correctly indicated. In this letter, the accused wishes to humbly assist in leading this organization to the heights it wishes and planned to achieve, and to assist the entire Department of Defense in waking up and working towards the dreams and hopes to help the minister to put an end to victimization. He identified witnesses that he wanted to call, i.e. Rear Admiral Fore, Rear Admiral Mkondo, and Captain Ngqito. His trial received coverage on the Cape Times and Sunday Times newspapers. He pleaded not guilty and defends himself. The prosecution called its witnesses and closed its case on Friday, 17 November 2017. The matter was postponed since then to determine the availability of the defense witnesses. The tone of the mentioned letter that bypassed the divisional system or chain of command undermines military discipline, and the media coverage had a potential to damage the reputation of the Department of Defense. On 24 January 2018, Chief of the South African National Defence Force gave the member 10 days to give reasons why he should not be suspended, Audi alteram partem rule. And on 6 April, the member was suspended pending his trial proceedings. On Friday, 15 June 2018, Sea Navy became aware of a video clip that the member posted on social media. It was probably posted on Thursday, 14 June 2018. In the video clip, the utterance, Chief of the South African National Defence Force, General Solishoke, Tsekakone Tolovela Chaga. My name is Sylvester Volane, if you do not know, for that matter. My name is Mangolele, Sylvester Volane, if you do not know, for that matter. What kind of a boss are you who does not do his job? Why do we spend sleepless nights doing our job trying to protect this South Africa, and you are sitting there in your own office not doing your job? We call upon you to come and do your job. I myself call upon you to come and do your job. I am not scared of you. I am a man, and I hope you are, unless uyunkwenkwe. You are an uncircumcised boy, Xhosa. If you are inkwenkwe, you will continue to sit and ignore this video. The same goes to the chairperson, to the chaplain general who must do his job. He is not doing his job. The same applies to you, SABC. As independent and impartial as you are hypocrites. And because how long have I been calling you to come and dictate this particular thing and air this matter for all South Africans to know what exactly is happening in the DOD. Chief SANDF, Ongani Toloveletaga, stop disrespecting me, stop taking me for a ride. Chief of the South African National Defence Force, it is difficult to read this particular letter. But however, the fundamental basis in that regard was that the Captain Peterson, as the senior staff of Naval Legal Services, made that particular submission for action, Office of the Chief of the South African National Defence Force, and then Senior Staff Officer Legal Support. For info, it was Chief of the South African Navy, Director Naval Personnel. In no event does it make mention of action required to be taken by Sylvester Volane Mangolele. On 8 August 2018, General Solishoke arbitrarily or without just cause approved a recommendation that an administrative authority be granted for administrative discharge for Lieutenant Commander Sylvester Volane Mangolele with immediate effect. This was a submission with inquiries. Rear Admiral Makanya, who wrote it on 26 July 2018, a submission to Chief of the South African National Defence Force for the administrative discharge of Lieutenant Commander Sylvester Volane Mangolele, SA Navy. The aim of this submission is to obtain approval for the administrative discharge of the above mentioned member with immediate effect as a result of conduct which contravenes a grave breach of military discipline. Discussion on 12 July 2018 on application was received from Chief of the South African Navy requesting a discharge of the above mentioned member. Lieutenant Commander Mangolele made a video and posted on social media. This video contained threatening remarks that he made towards Chief of the SANDF and various other flag and senior officers. It is evident that Lieutenant Commander S.V. Mangolele displayed no respect for military discipline as well as systems and structures within the SANDF. This type of behavior of the member is offensive and aggressive in nature and is seen as aggressive factor as may be construed to be bringing the SANDF into disrepute. In terms of the measures for fair and just administration, the member was granted the opportunity to submit a representation against the intended discharge. Lieutenant Commander Mangolele only acknowledged receipt of the letter of intent, but never submitted any representations against the intended discharge. General Mohlabane, as Chief Director Human Resource Management, signed this particular petition. Lieutenant General Yengeni, as Chief Human Resource, signed this particular petition, seemingly on 26 July 2018, as stamped before you. The Chief of the South African National Defence Force, General Shoke, signed it on 8 August 2018, approving a recommendation that an administrative authority be granted for the administrative discharge of Lieutenant Commander Sylvester Mangolele with immediate effect. Again, Lieutenant Commander Mangolele was never called to show cause to any charge. Internal disciplinary proceedings were underway before a court of a senior military judge when people took the law into their own hands and resorted to self-help instead of due legal procedure. Senior members of the South African National Defence Force did not act diligently. No correspondences qualifies the statutory provisions of Section 105 of the Defence Act as unlawfully and intentionally misrepresented in the DoD PESOL system on 8 August 2018 by Mr. Marcel Duvet at the Directorate of Human Resource Separation under the leadership of Rear Admiral Makanya. As can be seen, the application reason for discharge was offensive behavior, Section 105. Application date was 8 August 2018, the same day the Chief of the South African National Defence Force, General Shoke, signed the approval. Offensive behavior in terms of the Defence Act 42 of 2002 mandates that any member of the Defence Force or employee thereof of the department whose verbal or physical conduct degenerates, humiliates, or shows hostility or aversion to any other person on the grounds of that person's race, gender, sex, pregnancy, marital status, ethnic or social origin, color, sexual orientation, age, disability, religion, conscience, belief, culture, language, or birth, is guilty of an offense and liable on conviction to imprisonment not exceeding 5 years. Where a member or employee of the department is convicted of any offense and the commission of the offense is accompanied by any offensive behavior contemplated in subsection 1, such behavior must be regarded as being an aggravating factor in passing sentence on the accused. What you will notice is that a person must be accused, a conviction must come to pass, and such conviction must be done by a court of law. When asked to identify the threat or intimidation for the record of court before the Simonstown Magistrate Court, Captain Peterse could not identify the threat or intimidation from the words uttered in the video. To say "stop disrespecting me" is not a threat or intimidation. To ask or tell people to do their job is not a threat or intimidation. To be called upon to come and do your job is not a threat or intimidation. The court could not be satisfied with any lawful ground that qualifies the allegations that I have no lawful ground to be on military property. Today I am still obstructed from performing my duties. Corruption, criminal activity, apartheid, or misconduct are still promoted. General Mapwanya, the Constitution imposes an obligation of fair labor practice. It is in Chapter 2 of the Bill of Rights in Section 23(1) in which this particular obligation is imposed, where everyone has a right to fair labor practices and such is statutory. Termination of service of members of regular forces in terms of Section 59 of the Defence Act 42 of 2002. One can only terminate lawfully their service upon the expiration of 3 months after the date on which such a member lodged his or her resignation, or upon the expiration of such shorter period as may be approved by the Chief of the Defence Force. On the termination of any fixed contract concluded between the member and the department, or on the expiration of any extended period of such contract, if he or she has reached the prescribed age of retirement, or, where applicable, if he or she exercises his or her right to retire on pension in accordance with the provisions of the applicable pension laws. If he or she is sentenced to a term of imprisonment by a competent civilian court without the option of a fine, or if a sentence involving discharge or dismissal is imposed upon him or her under the code, or if the Surgeon General or any person authorized thereto by him or her issues a certificate to the effect that due to medical or psychological reasons such member is permanently unfit to serve in the Defense Force. Discharge or dismissal is in terms of Section 59(1)(d), in which a conviction by either a competent civilian court must be made of imprisonment without an option of a fine, or a conviction by a senior military judge, a court of a senior military judge must be imposed upon me under the code. That is what the law says. That is how you discharge a person. You don't discharge a person by simply writing a letter and then saying that the person is discharged. Discipline is what defines the structure and management of the Defense Force as a military discipline force. Discipline applied to both seniors and subordinates in the South African National Defense Force. It is true and correct that the Defense Force is in terms of Section 201 must be structured and managed as a military force. The functions of the Chief of Defense Force mandates the Chief of the Defense Force to manage the Defense Force as a disciplined military force. It is as written in law. To expect Lieutenant Commander Sylvester Volane Mangolele to carry a burden of doing everything necessary for a few members of the Defense Force, such as Vice Admiral Hlongwane, to uphold, respect and defend the Constitution as the supreme law of the Republic, while criminal activity, corruption, apartheid and misconduct is unlawfully and intentionally promoted by the South African National Defense Force, is unfair. The functions of the Chief of Defense Force mandates him a responsibility for the training of members of the Defense Force to act in accordance with the Constitution and the law, including customary international law and international agreements binding on the Republic. The Chief of the South African National Defense Force, General Rosani Mapwanya, reinstitute the fundamental human rights of Sylvester Volane Madala Mangolele. Provide Sylvester Volane Madala Mangolele and his children Nico Mangolele and Aluta Songelwa with a suitable place to live, effective immediately. Immediately reinstitute payment of salary of Sylvester Volane Mangolele, including all benefits. Respect, protect, promote and fulfill Sylvester Volane Madala's Mangolele, Nico Mangolele and Alutas Songelwa's rights enshrined in the Bill of Rights. The Constitution is the supreme law of the Republic. Law or conduct inconsistent with it is invalid, and the obligations imposed by it must be fulfilled. It is true that I hate. It is true that I want an end to this matter. It is true that I have followed every lawful provision to put an end to this matter. As a leader to all my subordinates, whom I must lead by example, the reality of having to excuse oneself in performing their obligations is incorrect and cannot be promoted by the office of the Chief of the Defense Force. The Chief of the Defense Force must operate as independent and impartial body and function of state. We must defend the Constitution. We must prosecute those who have done wrong. We must lead by example. Example equates to action. To keep on saying that Mangolele is crazy and then is doing his own things and then is crazy, he does not know what he's doing, is false. It only sustains criminal activity, corruption, and misconduct. The defense force cannot sustain criminal activity, corruption, and misconduct. I ask an end to this particular matter. I have worked hard to produce this particular reality in this particular reasonable manner, which is undisputable for generations to come. There are many issues that our country must face. There are many issues that we need to engage on for our country and its people. We need not to waste time in dwelling in one simple aspect of protecting criminal activity. Let us not teach people that it is wrong to report corruption. Let us encourage all South Africans and all those who live in it to report corruption when it happens. That is the only way we can manage to govern our republic as a democratic Republic of South Africa. I ask you all to engage in this particular matter as requested in accordance with the Constitution and the law. View it in that regard. Interpret it in that regard. I defend the Constitution and the law. Peace.